Let's sit later anyway.
Um,
Welcome to Irons United and our first gift of the gab of the summer. Tonight we've got Matt and Alf on, and I think we're going to be talking about primarily all things striker related, unless there's anything else you lads want to add. But
No.
Seems to be the most crucial thing at the moment to look at our striker situation and see where we're heading with that.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't sort of get over having to talk about our beloved Marko Arnautovic. So who wants to kick off? Alf?
Oh, right. Okay. Shall I be kind and charitable, or shall I?
You'd be as honest as hell, mate.
Right. I am sick and tired of any player of any club thinking that they can hold a club to ransom. When Payet did it to us, I don't care what his reasons were. That's it. You know, he's erased from my memory. And Arnautovic, when he did it in January or December, whatever it was, he just went from the top of my list right down to the bottom. And I swore to everybody I would never cheer for him ever again. Okay, and I would even if he scored, a hat trick and got us to places, I would never cheer for him. And now he's done this again. And he stayed with us and he got a pay rise and everything like that. And he was coming in, he's doing all these videos and trying to win back the favour, and he's done it exactly the same. Him and his brother can go and do one. I won't swear, but they can go do one. I've had enough of them.
Matt?
Full stop. That's it.
Any different feelings to that?
If you thought it was bad last time, it's like 100 times worse this time. He's not even at pre-season yet.
Yeah.
Like he's already annoyed people. At least last time, the people in the club still liked him. But apparently, if you read the stuff on Twitter today, like he's actually done everyone in the club's had enough of him now as well.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Yeah.
Like there's reports that they're actually debating taking the 20 million that was offered just to get rid of him. The club have had enough now.
I've heard the same thing. I've heard that we might just cut our losses, and if we try and stick up, wait out for another 5 or 10 million, if we think we're going to get it, it's going to be so painful that it's going to feel like it's not worth doing. And I'm the same with you guys. Our fight, I agree with what you said. I remember when it happened in January, and we always give players nicknames and we call him Arnie and not his full name.
Yeah. And
as a sign of of how I felt, I said I'll never call him Arnie again, because it felt like a term of endearment.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to call him Arnie again. And every time I talk about him, I call him by his full name.
Yeah.
Just to show that it's business. Do you know what I mean? And I totally agree with you guys. Matt, you're absolutely right. It's an awful lot worse than it was back in January, because the fact that he's got a pay rise, the fact that he's got an extended contract, and then for him to just spit it out, back in our faces. And I mean, what a time to do it, just when everyone is back in pre-season, everyone's feeling good, saying hello to everyone, etc. We saw the videos the other day when they were on their way to Switzerland, and then he does that. Well, so what do we do? Do we take the money? Do we just say, sod it, take the 19 mil, or do we stick out for more?
Well, he's not even in Switzerland, is he? He's not on pre-season yet. He's not back till next week.
No, he's not.
And you say how bad, let's not forget. I mean, when Defoe put in his transfer request all them years ago, he'd read it out by hand and gave it to him on the last day of the season, right? When Arnautovic is on pre-season, and apparently he sent them his transfer request by email. He didn't even have the balls to ring them up and say, I want to go. He sent an email. I wouldn't want him at pre-season now. I generally wouldn't. I wouldn't even ring him. I'd send him an email back and say, don't bother turning up.
Yeah.
What's the point? You've got to put your foot down.
Look, at this point, I couldn't even give a monkeys if we got 5p for him. I just want him out of our club at any cost. But my business head was saying, no, we got to get as much money for him as we can. I think we were saying it in the chat the other night, whatever it was. And I was saying, look, 25 million, bite their hand off you go. Couldn't give it. He's worth a lot more than that when he's got his head in the right place and when he's playing like he did not last season, season before, that's a 45 million pound, striker. Definitely. Well, Premier League prices anyway, or maybe more. Last season, he just screwed himself completely. So right now, just get rid of him, and then let's just focus our attention on somebody else.
Al, do you think we should be holding out for 25 million, or should we just say sod it and let him go for the 19, 20 million that's been offered?
Look, this is all, that's their first offer. You never accept their first offer. Let's see how much they're willing to go. But, if it comes towards the end of the season and they're still, the end of the transfer window, and they're still saying, no, that's all we're going to offer you is 19.7 million, that's it. You know what I'd say? Yeah, take it.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? What would you take for him?
I mean, I'd go back and just see if they'll make it 5 mil more, even if it's... Because honestly, don't forget the thing with Chinese teams is they have to pay double what they've paid us. So if they've offered us 20 million euro they offered, well then they're paying 40. So even if I go back to them and say, look, pay 20 million up front and give us 5 million in a year's time, because 20 million up front now is enough to buy someone like Rondon.
Yeah.
So my problem right now is like any transfer deal. The longer you prolong this, draw it out, the worse it's going to be for everybody. And actually, it's going to affect the whole morale within the squad. It's going to upset the balance and everything. Because come what may, he has to come back to pre-season training and he has to rejoin that squad. Can you imagine what the dress room is going to be like if all of a sudden he turns up and they're going to say, what the hell are you doing here? You should be on your way. So from a club point of view, they should say, do you know what? Let's just get rid of him. Whatever the price is, just get rid of him.
Do you
go in quickly for some other striking targets, let's say, and get a squad together so we can have a really good pre-season, and then come start of the season against Man City, at least we can start on the front foot as opposed to being chasing our arses all summer.
Do you really think that the club are going to actually risk getting him back to pre-season, or do you think they're just going to do a deal, whatever it might be, and tell him, as Matt suggested, tell him to just stay away? Because personally, I think that's what they're going to do, because it sounds as if like it's not just the club that's fed up with him, but it sounds like the other players are as well. Yeah. And if he thinks it's going to be frosty with the fans, imagine what it might be with the other players. And or do you think that the club should make a stand, and put their foot down and say, okay, you go, but you go on our terms, and maybe, try and put the message out that West Ham are a club that just can't be mucked around with anymore, because there's a bit of a double whammy. This, if we give in to him, other players in the club might think soft touch. West Ham are always a soft touch. When I'm ready, because we've got the Lanzini situation still hovering over our heads. We've got the Hernandez situation where, he quite easily admitted that he, whether he stays or goes was irrelevant to him. He didn't show a lot of heart, a lot of passion. And I know he's come out since talking about the new season and how great it's going to be in helping West Ham, but I personally don't believe that. But we'll talk about Hernandez in a moment. But do you think the club should be sending out a message and saying, all right, yeah, we'll sell you, mate, but we'll sell you on our terms?
Is that for me or Matt?
Either of you. Matt.
You go for it, Matt.
It's an awkward one, because at the same time, you don't want to say, look, we'll sell you on our terms. But at the same time, he's only scored one more goal this calendar year than he's put in transfer requests. He's put in two transfer requests this calendar year and he scored 3 goals. And he put one in 6 months ago. And what do we do? When here's more money, have some more money and stay.
Yeah, but I don't think that'll happen this time around, mate.
But you can't keep pandering to him. At some point, you've got to put your foot down and say, no, that's enough, because this will just happen. And we should have known this when he turned up, because he's done it every time he's gone somewhere else.
Yeah.
Every time he's left a club to come here, he done the same mistake, didn't he? And he's like refusing to play. Like, they said they owed me a move, and West Ham come in, I want the move. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. That's neither here nor there. But the transfer request was one thing, but then the statement his brother put out, for me, that's done. You get whatever money you can get for him.
Yeah.
You literally, I'd send an email out tomorrow to literally every team in the top 5 leagues in Europe and to everyone in China and say, by next Monday, he will be gone. Whoever's had the most offer the most money will get him, and see what happens.
Do you know what?
Good shout.
I was listening to who's his name? Is it Simon Jordan, ex Crystal Palace chairman? And he was talking about not this incident, but he's talking about transfers and the crazy prices the other night. Actually, he's talking about the transfer fee isn't really important, and in this case, I don't think it's really important to us. I think what is important is the wages. He said that's the thing that is making or breaking clubs, even in the Premier League. So right now, all Premier League clubs are turning over a profit, but we're all clubs are struggling with the wage bill. As far as I'm concerned, just like Carroll, we got rid of him. Just like Nasri, got rid of him. It's off the wage bill. I actually don't really care what we get for him. Yeah, we're going to make a little loss on what we put out for him, but we're not going to be paying him 120 grand a week or whatever it is. Same with the Hernandez. If he wants to go, just let him go. We're not going to be paying that kind of money. And we say to any other player, we say, if you're not going to be playing by our rules anymore, if you're not going to put in 100%, then on your way. We'll get rid of it. We'll save our wage bill. We'll start putting everybody back down to 60 grand, and 60 grand a week. And if that means that we suffer, we suffer. But I'm not having any player hold us to the sword over this anymore. I'm fed up with it.
That's a really good point.
I'm sure a lot of our fans are exactly the same, just absolutely fed up with this shit.
I've not seen anything that is suggesting that anyone's on his side. I think we're all laughing at this, thinking, like Matt said, thinking, we should have known this was going to happen. We could see it coming. But your point's a really good one. About the wages, the transfer fee in this instance was almost arbitrary. I mean, 20 mil will still get us another player. It will get us a Rondon. And there's a different argument there as to whether anyone thinks Rondon is as good as if not better or worse. That's a different argument. But it will get us a replacement. But you're absolutely right. Rondon won't come in demanding 120 grand a week. No. I dare say he'll probably be on 70, maybe 80 grand a week. So it's a win-win for us. I could actually see that's a really good point.
I think so. We need a change. Last season and the season before, if it wasn't for Arnautovic, we're struggling with goal scorers. Ball in the back of the net. It's as simple as that. So. You could name lots of different types of strikers and different types of strikers. And actually, regardless of their quality, actually, what you can guarantee is that if you put them on the pitch, even for 5 or 10 minutes, they've got a good chance of scoring. So I think possibly, from our point of view, maybe if it's only for this season, and maybe just to get us out this little hole we have with the strikers, instead of trying to chase after Gomez. I said it in our chat, I just don't think we're going to get him. I just don't think it's going to happen. And instead of going for these targets that we're just not going to get, or we're going to be paying over the odds for, let's just go for some hard-working, good old-fashioned strikers who will get the ball in the back of the net. And this leads me on to my next point, and I will show up in a minute. I'm so glad that Snodgrass put pen to paper, because that's the kind of player that I want at my club. That's the kind of player, his attitude, his commitment, and his desire to want to play for the shirt. And if he kisses our badge, I have no problem with that whatsoever. I do have a problem with any other shithouse twat of a player kissing our badge and then pissing off 5 minutes later. That's it. Set my piece.
And the irony, that we should be celebrating Snodgrass, signing that contract extension. It's been completely overshadowed by the Arnautovic story. And that's the biggest shame of it all, because I've been one of Snodgrass's biggest critics, as you all know, week in, week out, and even I was won over by his attitude, by his performances, by his sheer effort, and by the fact that he was playing with passion. And especially after he signed the extended contract, and he was talking about once in a lifetime a team comes along, etc., and you can feel that he's actually really passionate about it. And I've been won over by him, and all credit to West Ham for having given him the contract extension, because I was as you know, we talked about the 9 odd players that were in their last year of their contracts, and Snodgrass was one of them. And I was speculating at his age that I thought he'd actually be sold. I didn't think West Ham would actually keep him on. But fair dues, credit where credit's due there. Okay, so let's close this book on Arnautovic. We all want to see him gone. We don't really care in a way how much we're going to get for him. We just want him out the door. Yeah. And I totally agree. I think he's toxic. His brother's toxic. They don't really give a damn. And the sooner we get shot of them, the better, really.
Yeah.
So let's move on.
Is now, who do we replace him with?
Well, before we do that, let's move on to Ant's love life. Yeah, Javier. I can't even get the words out. Javier Hernandez. Arriba. What about? I mean, I've got to be honest. I put him almost, but not quite, in the same category as an artist. Almost because I don't think he really cares about being at West Ham.
Yeah.
Not quite because he hasn't been a complete bastard about it in the way an artist has. But he's on 140 grand a week. He hasn't exactly set the world on fire at West Ham. Do we keep him or do we bite the bullet there as well? Alf.
Get rid of him. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm merciless now. Get rid of him. Because unfortunately I was his biggest fan and I wanted to do so well, since he's been here, but it just hasn't worked out. He scored a couple of crucial goals for us, so hats off to him for that. And we've had a couple of fleeting moments with him, but that's it. It's just been fleeting moments with him. And I still don't, to this day, we still haven't played to his strength. So if we're not playing to his strength and it's not working out for him, and he's not really shown the commitment that he wants to be a West Ham player, only a West Ham player. And as far as I'm concerned, he's a mercenary. Get rid of him. Don't want him at our club, 140 grand a week. And I know that's being a bit harsh. I know that. Put it in the comments. I know exactly what people are going to say. But, that's the way I feel. Get rid of him.
What do you think, Matt?
My opinions are different, but I still think I'd get rid of him. Like, for me, he's not a mercenary. He's just a modern day footballer. Let's be real. For him, it's a job. Now, unlike Arnautovic, it's not Hernandez's fault that he got 140 grand a week. That's what we offered him. At no point has he gone, give me more money, I want to move. We approached him and when we're desperate for a centre forward, he's 140 grand a week, come play for us. I would still get rid of him because he's in the last year of his contract. Mm-hmm. Arsenal are drastically struggling this season for finances because all their top talent the last 2 years has walked out the door for free. The amount of money they've lost on sales. So for me, I would still get rid of him because if you can get any sort of money for him, you might as well. Because don't forget, in 6 months' time, he can go talk to teams in Spain for nothing.
Absolutely.
And sign a free contract.
What's value? Yeah.
And that's
I don't buy the whole he's better than Arnautovic. He's not worse than Arnautovic. I wouldn't put him on the same scale as that. But he did do that video the other day where he said his agent he's asking his agent for a move. But apparently he said it was mutual. West Ham were like, yeah, we're happy for you to go. And of course today this one come out where he said he's looking forward to the European campaign and stuff.
Yeah.
Now it could be coincidental time that's come out, or it could be the fact that we're now thinking, shit, Arnautovic is gone. If Hernandez goes as well, we literally have Silva to play up front next year with Antonio.
Yeah, I'm actually with both of you. I think Hernandez should go. It's interesting, we've had this debate all of last season about playing to players' strengths. When Carroll was fit for that fleeting moment, we were talking about not playing to his strengths. When Hernandez was in the team, we were talking about not playing to his strengths. Would you say that bringing a player like Fornals in and maybe playing players like Fornals and Lanzini behind a player like Hernandez would suit him better? Or would you still say we just don't have that type of system that's going to get the best out of him?
Our problem last season has not necessarily, and the season before, is not necessarily now a defensive issue, although we've improved a lot. We're still frail at times. And it's not really a midfield issue in the defensive part. It's actually the conversion from midfield now into the final third, into the attack. our delivery into the final third now has been woeful for the last, well.
But that's why I asked about Fornals. You know, a player like Fornals coming in.
He's unproven, you know, so it's very hard for me to say, you know, whether that'd be the right fit. I don't think that having Hernandez up there by himself is. I think he's much better in a two, and somebody who's feeding him, or he can pick up scraps in the 6-yard box, you know, per se. I don't think we're good enough at that final third delivery. That's something we've got to work on. And whoever's in there, we need. Let's say if we have Hernandez, then we need good strength in depth, because if we've got to take Hernandez off at 60 minutes, let's say, then we need somebody to come in. You know, and it might be a completely different style of player. Now, what I'll do, I'll drag it back down to, was it last season or the season before? Man United, under Mourinho, they were having a spell of really tough games where they were really struggling. What Mourinho did, they brought on the shaggy-haired fella. What's his name?
Fellaini.
Right? Oh, he's a donkey, right? But they brought him on the last 10 minutes in quite a few games, and guess what? He was scoring a goal.
He changed the game,
and he was getting results for them. Not pretty, but I tell you what, sometimes you just need a result. You just need somebody in there. So we don't quite have that kind of player. We had it in Carroll, or we hoped we had it in Carroll, but it never actually happened. So we probably need strikers like that as well. I'm not saying Carroll-like, but what I'm saying is we need somebody necessarily best quality, but somebody who can stick on and, you know what, let's just hit a long ball, let's hit a few crosses in, see if they can get their head onto it. I know I said it in jest in the chat, but I'm going to say it here. Somebody like a Peter Crouch, somebody like that. I'm not saying we should sign him, I know, but what I'm saying, or even a championship striker who's good in the air, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, look at Brighton at the start of the season. Look at who else was it? Yeah, Burnley the season before. You know, with their strikers,
Chris Wood,
strikers. But I tell you what, they scored lots of goals. You know, between them. So maybe if we're struggling, we need one of those strikers. In our squad.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so Hernandez is gone. Arnautovic is gone. Carroll and Perez is already gone. So we're left with Silva, Dew, and Hugill. We need strikers, don't we?
Yes.
So I know there's, the same names have been bandied around for quite some time. Gomez, obviously. Rondon. Who else? The names slipped me. The Fulham guy. Mitrovic. So who do you? I mean, Alf, you've just alluded to it. You don't think we're going to get Gomez. Matt, what do you think?
The Gomez one is. I don't think anyone actually knows what's going on, because even Sky Sports every day now, like Cavan or whatever his name is, Sky Sports, he's dropping out a different story every day. First of all, we agreed a deal and we agreed a fee. Then Valencia agreed a fee. Then we hadn't agreed a fee. Then Valencia hadn't agreed a fee. Now, we've got the resources to agree a fee. Valencia can't afford him. He doesn't know if he wants to come. He signed a contract with Valencia, but not a transfer fee. Like, until he goes somewhere, there's a possibility.
Yeah.
But you can't dive all into one and can't just gamble on him entirely. So you're looking at someone like a Rondon. He scored more goals than Arnautovic last year, and he got more assists.
Personally, I think Rondon is a given. I think he will come. It's a matter of who else we add to that. And if we, going back to Arnautovic, if we sell Arnautovic and if we sell Hernandez, we'll buy two strikers. There's no doubt. We'll buy two strikers and get a third as a freebie or a loan.
Yeah.
But if we don't sell Hernandez, because I think we will definitely sell Arnautovic, absolutely, for whatever price. If we don't sell Hernandez, then we're going to be buying another player, and again getting a freebie or a loan deal. So I think the player that we're going to buy is most definitely going to be Rondon, but it's a matter of who comes with him.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's been a lot of talk about a lot of divided opinion on players like Rondon. Do you think he's good enough for West Ham? I mean, Matt, you've just stated his stats. Better than Arnautovic.
So Arnautovic played 28 games last year, scored 10 goals and got 4 assists. Rondon, playing for Newcastle, creatively a lot worse than we were last year. Played 32 games, scored 11 goals and got 7 assists. You know, so... And he's got a free kick taker as well. He scored a couple... He's actually a decent free kick taker, Rondon. And he'll work for the team.
And he'll come for about either 16 mil or 13 plus Byram.
Yeah, his release clause is 16.5 million. The report today is we're going to go back in again with an offer with Byram. So you can imagine it would be 13 million and Byram.
Would you, as a West Ham fan, Alf, would you be happy with a Rondon signing?
Rondon for me would be that third striker that I was talking about
originally.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
what I'm talking about, he's that kind of quality for me.
Yeah.
You know, he's not our number one striker, but you know, he's the kind of player I would bring on 30 minutes to go. If it's not going well, let's see if he can do something. So you know, what I was joking about Peter Crouch, of course, but what I'm saying is that kind of, you know, no nonsense player. I think that Rondon fits the bill for me, but he's got quality as well.
I'd say the quintessential plan B.
Sorry?
The quintessential plan B, as teams call it. 10 minutes to go, chuck a big man up front.
So, the fact that we're either going to sell both Hernandez and Arnautovic, it means we've got to get 3 strikers in. We've got to, haven't we? Unless I'm missing something. Or unless we're going to use Silva from the under-23s. Or we're going to promote Yarmolenko or Antonio and put them, you know, up as a striker. But they're not natural strikers, are they? So, let's say Rondon is a given, and I think he is a given. Who else do you think we're really gonna try and get? You know, and Gomez aside.
I think we're going to struggle. I think we're going to struggle to get strikers. That's the problem. There's a few other teams as well who are all after strikers. And you know, it's the golden ticket, isn't it? That's what everybody wants. And I don't think we're going to get, you know, more than Rondon. I just don't.
If we paid 25 mil for Mitrovic and you know 15, 16 mil for Rondon, is that good business?
Yeah, definitely. I'd have both of those, definitely.
Matt?
Thing is, the only worry is that there's no pace, and that worries me. Because that means entirely, yet again, we're thinking about balls down the wing. Like you said earlier, with bringing in Fornals, would it make Hernandez better? Hernandez struggled because he hasn't got any pace. That's why he is a fox in the box. Because if you put him 1-on-1, 25 yards out, the defender could be 15 yards behind him and still catch him. Rondon, again, much like Arnautovic, isn't quick. He's mobile. He's not quick. Gomez isn't entirely quick. But it's in a case of what else can you bring in?
Okay. No, I'm going to make a prediction for next season as well. I don't think, regardless of what strikers we've got on the pitch, I don't think the bulk of our goals are going to come from the strikers anyway. I think it's going to come from midfield. I think it's going to come from the likes of Fornals, Anderson, Yarmolenko.
Totally agree with you, Al.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
because
where we're going to be concentrating.
Yeah, because you know, when you think about what Pellegrini has done, apart from the goalies, which were an obvious need, you know, the first thing he's gone for a midfielder, knowing that we've got already that at that point we had already let 2 strikers go, and I agree with you. I think he's going to be looking at our midfield to produce at least half our goals, if not more, next season. You know, and I totally agree with that. But then that sort of makes me think then, well, you know, if for all the players that we've just mentioned, Mitrovic, Rondon and Hernandez are all slow paced, you know, Gomez as well, as you've just mentioned, Matt, there's got to be other players out there, then strikers out there, then that we should be looking at. Are we focusing too much on, or is the club focusing too much on the same type of player? And if so, who else should we actually be aiming for?
It does seem to be the same sort of players, because obviously Gomez isn't a target man, but he's not lightning quick. He's not like he was very much built like a Suarez. So he will have that initial pace over ground, to break an offside trap, but he's not going to sprint away from someone. But that is like, it was, if you go, I think it's like Gomez, Rondon, Mitrovic, and someone else. I think Magera, or whatever, how's that pronounce his name?
Marega.
Yeah, Marega, sorry. Yeah. I think Marega's the only one that's probably got more pace out of them, but then I think he's probably the least unproven one of the three.
That's interesting then. Why is everyone so anti-Marega? Because all I read is how no one wants him. Because he's roughly the same age as the other player. Well, okay, Gomez is what, 22, Mitrovic is what, 25.
Yeah, Mitrovic 24. But Rondon is about the same age.
Rondon about the same age. So why is it that so many fans are really anti-Marega? Because I've looked at his stats and they look really impressive. And one could argue it's in the Portuguese league. I get that.
That would be my first thing. Yeah, it's the Portuguese league.
But then we have had other players in. Well, not us personally, but Premier League.
It's a weird one because I watch a lot of football, but even I don't watch the Portuguese league, so I can only go on what I see. Even in Champions League.
I thought you meant deliberately that it's so bad you can't watch it.
No, I just it doesn't get covered as much. To be fair, does it? You don't. Even if I flick through BT or Sky, it doesn't really come up.
Yeah.
Portuguese Super League that often, so you can only go on like YouTube videos, and obviously people will bias and make a video because of course it's their video, and he's either like he's basically he's Lukaku in a second form. Now, depending on what video you watch, he's either that Lukaku at Everton that scored against us like fucking 100 million games in a row, or he's Lukaku at the moment. He's more like fucking weightlifter. He's absolutely massive. He's got an awful first touch, or he bangs in worldies.
Right.
But for me, coming from the Portuguese league, he should be. If he's good enough to score in the Premier League, he should be hitting like 30 goals a season. Yeah. Tadic left Southampton last season. Well, sorry, the start of last season, and went back to Holland. He scored over 25 goals in Holland last year in one season, playing because their league isn't as good as the Premier League.
Yeah.
Whereas he only scored about 11 goals in 3 seasons at Southampton.
Yeah.
So if you're playing centre forward in a poorer league, for me, you've got to be scoring more goals. If he's going to step up to the Premier League, he should be getting 30 goals in Portugal every season, and he's going to get maybe 15 goals in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But as I just said, Rondon scored 11 goals last year playing up front for Newcastle. The problem we've got is that you just said we're going to buy 3 new centre forwards. How are you going to buy 3 new centre forwards on the basis that you only play one up front?
Well, personally, I think we need 3 centre forwards because if you get one injured, that means you're down to.
Oh no, we definitely do. But so Rondon was first choice for Southampton last year. Rondon was first choice for Newcastle last year. Gomez was first choice at Celta Vigo. Let's say, for argument's sake, the freebie is someone like Balotelli, who played at Marseille. Again, is number 1. So how are you going to get those 3 guys in, keep them all happy on the basis that we only play 45 games a season?
I would go back to yesteryear when Alex Ferguson managed Man United and he had 4 strikers on his books. And okay, I know the argument's going to be, but they were in every competition going. But West Ham, if we've got 3 decent strikers, it could mean that when it comes to the cup competitions, we have a go because we've got a decent striker that's going on, rather than relying on, whoever it might have been that played and didn't look like they wanted to be there, etc. That, to me, is the difference. We talk about West Ham and having a good cup run, but then we look at how disastrous it's been over the last couple of seasons. And one of the reasons for that is because of our lack of depth in our squad. So if we've got 3 good strikers, that means we can go out, give the Premier League a go, give the cup games a go. All of a sudden, you've got players playing more often because we're in more competitions. And also, if we have a really good season next season, because I feel if we get the right strikers in, we will have a good season. We could end up in Europe, And if we do end up in Europe, that means we've got 3 strikers that are going to be even hungrier, Or by then we'll probably replace 1 or 2 of them or whatever. But for me, it's a matter of making sure that we've got strength in depth to be able to compete in the cup games and so on. And that's what Alex Ferguson did. He used all his 4 strikers in the Premier League, in the Champions League, in the cup games, etc., etc. They were all kept happy, and they were 4 top strikers of their day. Solskjaer, the eternal sub, even he was happy despite the fact that he kept starting off as a sub. So I think if you play the right sort of game, if you play the right sort of team in the different games, you can keep them happy. That I do actually genuinely think that. Please tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think three.
I think the recruitment, whichever and also whichever players they decide to go for, bring in, they've got actually, and I think we were a little one-dimensional last season in certain respects, and I think Pellegrini's got to look at that. If I had one big criticism of Pellegrini last season, I thought he was a lot one-dimensional. He wouldn't change it up a little bit enough for me. I thought he was naive against the bigger teams, let's say. Certainly in those first four games, I thought we were very naive. A couple of other games throughout the season, I thought we could have done a lot better. Whereas, other teams, we rose to the occasion. We were brilliant. So I think, it always comes down to this, depending on what players you got on the pitch, really largely determines where you play to their strengths. And I think sometimes he's a bit too rigid to his system, rather than actually, okay, well, I haven't got those players that fit into my system, therefore I really should play to their strengths, even if it's only a short-term gain. Right now, obviously, we want Pellegrini and Huzilos to target players that are going to come into his system. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of having Pellegrini or any manager take over the reins. You can say, right, his ideas, his way, that's it, get the players to fit in. The problem is, are we going to be able to get those players? The disruptive influence that we've got within our club, we need to get rid of those whenever we can and get whatever players in. My question for you guys is, where do you think Pellegrini and Huzilos are really targeting? Are they targeting just Spain or Portugal or Europe in general or South America?
I think he's looking at Spain and South America.
Yeah.
That I think it sounds like that. Those are the two areas that Huzilos knows best. Because I think there are other players in Europe. I mean, we've talked in our chat group and we've done videos about Haller. We've talked about. I mentioned. Is it Gross from German league? And I know Matt. You said he's like 32, etc. But he was knocking in goals left, right, and centre in the Bundesliga last season, and he's on a free. So these are slightly different players, and it kind of addresses your point, Matt. If we went for say someone like Gross, who's on a free, he might be happy to come to West Ham, knowing that he might be a backup player, but he still sounds like he's got quality enough to be able to, knock the ball in the net a few times. I don't know.
No, yeah, it's not that I entirely agree. We need to bring in three centre forwards. As I said though, if say for instance, it was Gomez and Rondon, and then say, like I said, is it a Cruz or a Balotelli? As a negotiation tactic, how do you convince all three of them to sign? Like, you're my number one centre forward. Because, for instance, obviously we want a good, decent cup run, but let's say, for horrible argument's sake, we get knocked out in both first rounds.
Then we have got a problem.
When we've had a 4-game season, because don't forget, I mean, as much as people don't like Hernandez, the reason he's upset is because he's not playing. And personally, I don't have a problem with that, because I'd rather a centre forward be upset for not playing than sitting on the bench happy. But you can only have an unhappy player for so long before someone else comes looking or they start playing up.
But if thanks for correcting me, it is Cruz and not Gross that I kept saying. If we do manage to get Gomez, Hernandez ain't staying, is he? Because he'll know he's not going to be the number one at the moment. With Arnautovic on his way out, Hernandez is the number one player because he's the only striker we've got. By default, yeah. But even if we did get a freebie, or Rondon. I mean, if Rondon does come in, who out of Hernandez and Rondon would you start? Because exactly. So that means Hernandez must know that he's never going to be the number one striker at West Ham.
It's not his fault, because he doesn't unless you're playing a 4-4-2, which I'll be honest, most in the Premier League do not play anymore, because you try and flood out the midfield. he can't play on his front on his own.
Yeah.
He just can't. He's too brittle. He's too small. He's too slow.
Yeah.
The reason he's the fox in the box guy is because you've got someone big like a Rondon or an Arnautovic or a Carroll up front, and the centre forwards have got their eyes on him, and then Hernandez appears.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can't afford, we can't afford 140 grand a week for a guy that spends 90% of the season sitting on the bench.
True.
And when he does play, he's not that great either. That's to be said.
His job's to score goals, so as long as he scores goals, but he's not, he's not a link-up player. He's not going to win knockdowns. He's not making the runs in behind. He's not running the channel. He doesn't do the dirty work. He's literally put the ball inside the penalty box and I will score.
Yeah.
Which is fine if you've got 9 other fantastic outfield players on the pitch, which means you can let him do it. Because it's like the centre forward version of Payet. We had Payet, and you knew that everyone else done their job. Payet could do what he wanted.
Absolutely.
But you can't let Hernandez do that when Hernandez is the only centre forward.
Yeah.
You can't go away to Man City, put 9 men behind the ball, and leave Hernandez up front battling with Vincent Kompany because he's going to lose the ball 100 times out of 100.
You see, my issue with the strikers, or the targets, I should say, is where we're looking. I don't think that we should necessarily be going for Mediterranean style players. The Italians or the Spanish or Greeks stuff.
Don't worry, I don't rate Greek players either, much.
Well, Italian, and I don't think we got many either. But I think actually our strength or our target should be from the German league, should be from the Dutch league, should be probably maybe look at a few Scandinavian players as well.
Because they play similar style of football to us.
Exactly, and the pace is very similar, and the method of play is very similar as well. But I just don't think Spanish, Portuguese players, Latin American players, or South American players are they're just not the right fit for us, and for us, and also for the league as well.
So based on that, then
you will get a Mediterranean player. You know what I mean by Mediterranean, of course.
Yeah.
I'm generalising. Very rarely you'll get one that is fantastic, but most of the time they're either average or poor.
So based on that, have you got any ideas from those sorts of leagues? I mean, we've just mentioned Haller and Cruz. Anyone else that you think West Ham should be looking at that would fit the bill? Is there anyone out there, either of you, that you think we should be targeting?
I said for me, Haller would be the one that I would, if they can't get Gomez, that'd be my first choice.
Yeah.
For me, you would struggle to get him now though because they sold Jovic to Real Madrid for 60 million. Much like Arsenal are now struggling to get Zaha because Palace already sold Wan-Bissaka. Once a team's got money in for one of their players, they're more reluctant to sell the other player. Germany, I haven't scouted enough. I know, so if I saw the player, I could tell you who he was. But like Alf said, the German league is very physical. We tend to look at the French league a lot. There's some decent-ish players in the French league.
Yeah.
The South American one's interesting because it depends where they've come from. Like, if they've come from somewhere, because I think when Liverpool bought Suarez, they bought him from, was it PSV or Ajax?
Yeah.
They bought him from Holland.
PSV, yeah.
I think, yeah.
So they picked him up from the Dutch league. So, South Americans that have played in Europe already seem to do a bit better.
Yeah.
But if you're taking them straight out of the South American league,
yeah.
But having said that, Balbuena comes straight out of the South American. He comes straight out of the South American league, and
I was just about to ask. Do you think Husilos has got a Balbuena type striker up his sleeve? Because
I hope so.
we know for a fact that everything is quite tight in terms of news. Which is why there's so much speculation going on. That Husilos doesn't speak to the press. Pellegrini doesn't either. And my understanding is that our understanding is that even the directors, David Sullivan, David Gold, don't know who we're targeting until that target is kind of more or less a done deal.
Why do you think that is, Stel? Why do you think that is? They're trying to stop the leaks. Full stop.
And I totally agree, and I actually like it.
All this nonsense that we've had the last few years about all these leaks coming out and all these in the nose, coming out and saying, oh, look, we'll go after this player, Oh, yeah, I know this player's coming. It's actually in many ways, although it's given us good information, it's actually letting the cat out of the bag. You know, we shouldn't be putting this information out. I'm hardly surprised they've, closed ranks.
Yeah, I know, and I totally agree. I mean, it makes our jobs a bit more difficult because we speculate like everybody else. But I'm in agreement with you. And it actually was quite refreshing. I mean, Fornals was only leaked, what is it, a day or two before? So I think Roberto, no one knew about at all. David Martin's, we knew about that, but that's because of Alvin Martin. Alvin Martin's link. So I actually agree. I actually think it's quite refreshing, and it actually gives me a buzz, a sense of excitement when all of a sudden, a name is being announced that we've actually signed.
Sure.
And it does feel refreshing. But that's why I wonder. Sorry, mate. That's why I wonder, whether Huselos has actually got someone up his sleeve that we don't know about, because we're all going crazy and focused about Gomez. We're not getting Gomez. Are we getting Rondon? Are we getting Mitrovic? Are we, and there's probably a player that may have just fleetingly passed us by that no one's focused on.
I think that's exactly what's going on, and I think that's why they're keeping so tight-lipped about everything. And they're saying, we're going to go and do our business quietly. And I tell you what, if that is the case, I'll be one of their biggest fans ever, because that's the way it should be. Just keep it on the down low. Keep it, out of the public eye, and also let's not forget, if it's not in the public eye, that means we're getting for a decent money as well,
instead of it being inflated.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, so you mentioned Balotelli before, about whether it's possible. I mean, last I heard that he was just ready to sign for Parma or something like that. I'm not sure if that's actually a done deal. I'd love to see Balotelli at West Ham. I would absolutely love it, just for the
sheer entertainment.
Yeah, the sheer entertainment, and it would give us so much to talk about, wouldn't it? God, I would be so frustrated with him.
I'll be really honest with you. I was never his biggest fan when he was here at City and Liverpool. I thought he was a complete arse. I'd rather he was our arse than anyone else.
He's turned it around a little bit, but the point again, he's kind of fell away again from the Italian national team. He was recalled by Mancini. He started to bang in a couple of goals. Then he kind of faded away again. He was out of favour. Then he went to Marseille because he was with Nice before, wasn't he? Went to Marseille. Matt, you probably know more about this than I do in terms of stats and everything. But then he started banging in a few goals, and he's trying to get himself back into the Italian setup.
He's done really well in Marseille, to be fair.
Yeah.
He was only there for 6 months.
The big thing that the Italians have got right now is this new lad. I don't know if you've heard of him, called Mose Ken, right? And he's from I think he's from northern Italy, and I think a lot of the top teams in Italy look at him. I think he's like 20-year-old Juventus lad, but they're actually looking at him in Germany because he kind of suits that kind of style of player. Although I was saying about German players, if we got somebody like that kind of player who's good with his feet, but he's good in the air, and he's already in the Italian setup, the national side, and he's banging in goals as well. Do you know what? I'd have him at West Ham, definitely.
Okay, let's finish off. Well, you've more or less done it now. So let's finish off with our 3 preferred striker choices.
Balotelli. There you
go. Go on. Give us your 3, Alf.
My top 3.
That you like to see at West Ham. Top 3 strikers that you would like to see in a West Ham shirt next season.
I would go with a Rondon, Mitrovic, and I will go with Balotelli as somebody who might surprise us as well.
Matt,
I'm gonna go Rondon, Haller, Balotelli.
You've stolen my thunder. Because if Gomez isn't going to happen, I would have
said... that was my applause as well. I'm not going to say Gomez because I think we all know that Gomez would be the first choice, and we're all saying if Gomez doesn't happen,
Yeah. So but otherwise I'd be with you. If Gomez doesn't, if Gomez does happen, it'd be Gomez, Rondon, Balotelli, and everyone's going to hate us for all saying Balotelli. But I agree. I think Balotelli will surprise us all.
Look,
You said
something
about
to write about, and I need video. I need fodder for my videos as well, and you two need it as well. So let's bring Balotelli. I even sent him a private message on Twitter, not a private message, but where you can tweet their name and everything. And I did it in Italian to try and bring him over. And guess what? He didn't respond. But
there's a surprise.
saying about surprise signings that Julius might do. There was one I read the other day. I don't know if any of you guys remember this. There's a guy called Kramaric that played for Leicester City.
Yeah, I did.
He scored 17 goals in Germany last year.
He's done Hoffenheim. Yeah, I did a video. I think I
so that could be someone they look at. There's also another guy called Weghorst who plays for Werder Bremen who scored 17 goals last year. Right. So that's two guys in the German league you could look at. There's the big names like Werner, but he's probably end up at I think he might have gone to Bayern Munich already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my gut says I still think Gomez will happen, but I'm going to go with you, Matt. I'm going to go with the same three that you've mentioned. So I think
not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell, Gomez. No chance.
I'll
eat my hat if he.
Well,
don't say that, because this time last season, Fandangos, I messaged him and I said we're getting Anderson, and he went, there is no chance in hell. And he absolutely hates bananas. He went, I'll bet you a banana we don't sign him. And the day he signed, I sent him a message and he went, I'm still not eating that banana. Don't say it until it's done. Don't say it, because we'll get a video of you eating a hat. We'll put it up on Manchester United.
I think the Gomez deal might be closer than we all think, but if it doesn't happen, then there's going to be someone up his sleeve. Yeah, there'll be someone up who's lost his sleeve that and it could be a Haller or Kramaric. And I know everyone's going to go, good grief, when he was at Leicester, he was absolutely shite. But as you said,
he was a kid.
Yeah.
And they dumped him in a relegation battle.
Yeah. All right, lads. Anything else you want to add, or should we just call it a night?
No, I think we all know what our problem is. We've got a striker problem. We've still got another month to, do some business. I'm just hoping that the business will be done very soon, rather than,
right at the last moment.
Right at the last minute, and the players just won't be settled into the squad, into the team, and they won't be ready until November, December time. Yeah. And that's just too late, really. We need players right now, unfortunately.
There's one more thing I want to talk about.
Go on, Matt.
And it's really bugging me.
Go on.
Left back.
Well, yeah. Well, don't get me bloody started.
We've got two decidedly average left backs, which we all knew was our problem last season. And then Masuaku had 4 good games.
Yeah, well,
against teams that weren't caring anymore.
Mate,
and all of a sudden, we've gone, oh, yeah, nice, great. We've got Creswell Masuaku.
Don't get me started, because I think we should have sold Masuaku. Masuaku's also in his last season.
I don't mind.
His last year of his contract.
I wouldn't have minded either of them being sold, to be honest, but we should have sold one of them.
I think
bring in a new left back.
I think the reason why, and I can understand it, is because possibly Pellegrini could have predicted what was going to happen with his striking options. And so that's why I think there's a lot of emphasis going on.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about a world beater at left back. You could have got 7-8 million for Masuaku. You could have bought. Look, I'm not joking. Probably half the left backs in the fucking championship probably better than Masuaku.
I think watch this space, because once the strikers are sorted, I think we're going to see movement elsewhere, because we're going to see Obiang going. We're going to probably see Sanchez might leave, so that means we might have to buy yet another midfielder. I think we've got to see what develops with Diop, although I don't think that's really going to happen. But that could trigger us maybe going in for Maripan stronger, and then possibly going in for another left back. Because I agree with you, I can't believe that we're going to have the same left backs starting as we
unless Ben Johnson's playing left back all season, and that's why Zabaleta got a new deal.
No, look, for me, Masuaku shouldn't be there at all. I agree. He had a few decent games, the end of it, but look, he just isn't at the same level as Creswell, who is at best decent on his day, but he's not, at that level where we would want him to be either. So for me, Creswell would be a starter above him any day of the week.
Preaching to the converted, because I am not a Masuaku fan by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. It baffles me how people can sing his praises. Because Matt, you're right. The last 4 games of the season, Tottenham aside, the last 4 games of the season were like, dead rubbers. They were like, there was nothing to play for, and all of a sudden Masuaku. And the only reason why Masuaku was playing was because Cresswell was injured. Yeah. And he just happened to end up keeping his spot for the last 2 games.
I'm still haunted by that 45 minutes against Man City.
Yeah, yeah.
When he made Sterling the best player on the planet and got subbed at half time.
Yeah.
Like, we got Man City first game. And Masuaku playing left back again.
Look, any fan of any club, or the fan base, let's say, I don't know what it is, but one player can have a half decent game, then all of a sudden they say, oh yeah, they've got to start the next game. Yeah. Well, for me, that doesn't quite work. I know we've had chats and arguments about this in the past, but I'm sorry, that doesn't quite work. Just because you have one game doesn't necessarily mean that you're a definite starter over somebody who might have been injured or might have had a niggle or a little groin strain or whatever.
Lads, I agree with you. I think when I look at our defence and I look at the number of goals that we let in last season, it's evident that we're going to start with the same defenders. Unless
this is the baffling thing for me. Like, obviously, like you said, priority centre forward, because it doesn't matter who's in defence if you've got no one up front. But that's the same defence like 2 years running. Obviously, brought in Balbena and Diop have changed centre backs, but we've still got Bonner and Reed there.
Yeah. And
the fullbacks, like.
See, I'm not as much worried as the right back's position as I am for the left back, because I think Ben Johnson, unless he goes out on loan, I think Ben Johnson might be there or thereabouts. So I think that obviously Zabaleta will be back up to Fredericks. But I've got a sneaky feeling that we might see Johnson in the cup games, rather than Zabaleta, and give him that confidence. And then maybe he, by the end of the season, is the backup for Fredericks rather than Zabaleta. So I'm not so concerned about that. I am concerned about left back, unless there's some dynamite left back that we haven't heard of in the under 23s. And for the life of me, I don't know the under 23s left back's name. Matt, you probably do. But I agree. I'm baffled by fan opinion.
Unless what you said's right, and it's just a case of we need to prioritise centre forwards.
I think we need to prioritise centre forwards. I think once Pellegrini's,
because who was the left back from? I can't remember his name now. Was it Olympiacos?
Kutris.
Yeah. He was available for not a lot of money. It was like 12 million. 12 million. Which, all right, 12 million. I said 12 million. Not a lot of money. In the Premier League money, it's not.
You don't know what's going to... You've got to remember, we've still got to sell players. We've still got to sell, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that are going to bring in that extra bit of money. Yeah. And once we do, as I said, Obiang's going to go. Sanchez is likely to go. Who else have we got that, Byron will go. Oxford is there or thereabout. Oxford might actually be given another chance. We don't know. But, there are a few players in the squad that we've all talked about that we think, could still go. And if we do sell them, and now if we get the money for Hernandez and Arnautovic, we've kind of got enough money in the kitty to get the strikers in and maybe get a left back. Because I think left back, I don't think we need centre back, because as much as I joke about it in our chats in WhatsApp, Reed, obviously, if Reed comes back and he comes back strong, that's 4 centre backs we've got there that we can rely on. So it is left back that worries me as well. But we'll see. I think we've got to do some business the other way. We've got to start letting some more players go.
See, it's interesting because I didn't realise you said that he's Masuaku in the last year of his contract.
I thought he was.
Well, in that case, just sell him. Sell him.
I'm pretty damn certain I'm right. I'm pretty certain I'm right.
Because
there were 9 players who were in their final year. Hernandez, Byron.
Snodgrass he's got a new contract.
Snodgrass, and I'm sure one of them was Masuaku.
See, if he is, for me, I'll just sell him.
I agree. I think we should just sell him.
Arsenal's new director of football just come in and said their new rule is that if a player's got 2 years left on his contract, and he doesn't sign a new deal, they're selling him.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because it's just not worth the money.
For him. Yeah.
Yeah. So if he's in the last year, regardless, for me, he'd be out the door already.
We've got too many players. You know, it's like you mentioned about Arsenal sort of like letting a lot of money go because their players walked away. You know, we've got too many players in their last year of their contract. So even if they're only worth 2, 3, 4, 5 million or 8 million or 10 million, that still accumulates to quite a sizable amount of money. Yeah, and we can't afford to let them all go. You know,
on the flip side, like if they've got a year left and you think they're going to be worth keeping around, give them another year.
Absolutely, like we did.
The thing you don't want to do is what Man United just did, where you've got people over the age of 30, you've got Phil Jones, Chris Smalling, and Ashley Young, all just got new 2-3 year contracts. You know, they tried to palm Phil Jones off on us because they gave him not only a new 3-year contract when he should have been out of contract now, but they moved him up to 120 grand a week.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't sign a new deal without more money.
Yeah, well, we're not going. No wonder we're not going to have it.
For me, it's sell him.
I think what Pellegrini needs to do this season, you know, which he didn't really achieve, which I was a bit disappointed last season, is actually blood the youth a lot more, bring in those players. And you know what? If we don't do a lot of business, if we don't bring in many players, you know what? Go with what we've got. You know, promote from the you know the youth ranks. Not the youth ranks, you know what I mean, 120 ranks, and just go with it.
And I reckon you're right there, because I think, you know, there's talk about Nathan Holland potentially breaking through this season. You know, Oxford could actually prove to be valuable if he plays his cards right this summer.
If he gets his head right.
If he gets his head right, you know, and he could prove to be valuable. He could be another player in the centre of midfield or centre of defence that you could be looking at. You know, and Silva is highly thought of. I mean, we bought him, and he was sniffing around before he got injured. If you remember, beginning of last
season. My only worry is I haven't seen a lot of him, but we've had this thing really in the last, I think 10 years, where we keep bringing kids through a centre forward, and we think they're highly rated, and then they just don't cut it.
Yeah, true.
But we don't try it. What I'm saying is that we've at least got to try it. We've at least.
If we can't bring the players in, you've just got to go for it. Like you're better off. Like for me, I always joke about especially with Masuaku, I'd rather play Snodgrass at left back.
Yeah.
But if we have got a kid in the under-23s and Creswell and Masuaku are both playing shit, put him in.
Yeah.
No,
well,
but
I'm saying on every squad, there needs to be a minimum, two. You know, younger players
perfect,
on there. They should get
example.
Regular 5 minutes of each game.
I think his name's like Angelo. I'm probably just butchered this kid's name. He's in Man City. They sold him last year for pennies
They just
to PSV. And they just bought it back for 5 million quid. He's still only 20.
Yeah.
Because they were like, he's not going to cut it. We'll send him out. And all of a sudden, a year later, they've gone, no, he's really well progressed. If you don't give him a try, you don't know, do you?
Have you lads seen the list of the players that we've already released this season?
I said Tony Martinez went, didn't he?
No, they've actually just released with no contract, and a lot of them are youth players, and I forgot the name. Yeah. One struck out.
Masaki? Was it Masaki?
Yeah, Masaki.
Yeah.
He was 16-year-old 2-3 seasons ago. You know, he was supposed to be the next big thing. Then all of a sudden, gone.
Yeah. Well, there was also
I think we overhype some of our youth players.
Yeah.
We're talking about Cullen this year.
Yeah, I don't see. Apparently, Cullen and Coventry are going to be given an opportunity to prove the work.
Obviously, as West Ham fans, we want the academy guys to do well.
Yeah.
I was at the playoff final. Yes, Cullen had a great game for Charlton that day, but you're talking League One.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Cullen's not 19, 20. Isn't he about 23 now?
Cullen's not going to cut it. I don't think he'll make it. Coventry, I've not seen enough of, but apparently,
I think he played. Did he play that game we smashed 8 past Shrewsbury?
Yeah, he played in that game. Yeah, there was a couple.
Again, you're playing a League Two team.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think there will be a few youths. I think Nathan Holland will be one.
I think he would have been last season.
Sorry, mate.
I think he would have been got in last season.
But
he didn't have that horrible injury.
Yeah.
I think he would have been in front of, personally, from what I hear, I think he was in front of Dean Garner.
Yeah.
But
apparently
he had
that's
that big
why
injury.
Dean Garner got his chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what happens this season. Let's see if we can get more of these lads in, I think.
Absolutely. But yeah, I agree with you, Matt. Left back needs sorting. But let's get forwards in and then let's see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, lads. We've done an hour. It's been a good chat. It's been a long time coming, and we've still got shitloads to talk about.
So, yeah, we could go for another 2-3 hours here. We wouldn't even cover half the stuff. So
we'll schedule in another show and we'll talk about other parts of the squad. I mean, it was important to look at the striker situation, and you threw in a left field, left back situ right at the last minute.
It just literally, when you said anything else, and I was like, left back, it just comes to me for some reason. You shouldn't have asked. You'd have just wrapped it up. We'd done 15 minutes ago.
All right, lads, it's been good, and we'll chat on WhatsApp in a minute. And come on your irons.
Come on your irons.
At the Hammers. We're not having that coming on your irons.